y'all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
Tonight, we are coming to you with a very special episode. It's our first interview.
Yay!
We have with us today Justin Wade. Justin played Joseph Marino in episodes 3 through 6 on the Pitt. Welcome, Justin. We are really honored to have you with us today, and I just can't thank you enough for giving us your time today.
Thank you, Mandy. Thank you, Becky. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's an honor to be your number one first interviewer.
You'll always be our number one.
Really?
The first is always special.
Oh.
So, Justin, looking at your IMDb page, I'm so impressed with what a well-rounded person you are, and you've worn so many different hats. You went to Lee Strasberg, you played sports, you've done modeling, you've done acting, you were in physical therapy.
Yep.
You've got an extensive history in stand-up comedy, and so you've just done a lot of awesome things. And I was struck by how perfect the casting was for that role, given your broad skill set. So I'm just wondering, what do you think it is about you that makes you so successful in so many different fields?
Well, got to pay the rent. And just I have a lot of interest. I love everything that you named. I love doing stand-up. I love acting. I love helping and healing people. I'm studying right now with the National Academy of Sports Medicine so that I can be globally certified and, just continue to do something on the side as well. Because acting takes up a lot of my time. I'd like to be an assistant to a physical therapist. That's the next plan.
Wow.
And I'm a flexibility technician as well. So, and I have 2 kids, and one of them is playing club soccer. And so she's kind of like my little Frankenstein. She is a beast.
I have to admit that I stalked your wife's your beautiful wife. She is impressive as well. I stalked her Facebook page a bit yesterday, and I saw your daughter in action. Holy cow. Yeah. And I did wonder, do you coach her?
I do.
Wonderful.
Two things is we are divorced.
Oh, okay. Apologies.
No, not at all. But we're still family. We'll take care of each other. Happy. They used to say happy wife, happy life, happy ex-wife.
Even happier life.
Happier life.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's wonderful. It's great how we all work together. And yeah, I do train her. As a matter of fact, she has half day today at school, and we're going to go to Zoo Drive here in by Griffith Park. They've got like 4 soccer fields that are going to be completely empty. And so I'm going to pick her up after school, and we're going to go and we're going to train there. And then one of the other parents asked if I would help train their daughter as well.
Wow.
That's really cool.
So we do that often. And then, with stretching as well being the most important of them all. But it's a team effort, and she loves what she's doing. She's playing club soccer, and she's a beast.
She's impressive. From the little clip that I saw on your ex-wife's Facebook page. Yeah. I was really impressed. My husband coaches our kids. It's baseball, but he's coached our kids throughout their entire lives. They're 17 and 21 now. And it's just, I didn't grow up playing sports. And I just think that really adds a dynamic to the parenting relationship if you do it right, if you're not one of those parents that's
overbearing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a real delicate balance too.
It really is.
But if you do it right, so rewarding for those kids. And I think it turns out people like you who are well-rounded, who have interests in so many different things. I think sports can really play a big part in that. But one of the things that I find interesting about this show is how many of the actors are also, at least tangentially, part of the medical community as well. Did that come up when you were being cast?
Well, no, not at all. Actually, it was just, I was talking to Noah. We're offset and we're watching the other actors, and he's kind of like doing a little directing on the side. And then he struck up a conversation with me, and he asked me like, where you're from and, what's your deal? And I just, I told him I'm from Montreal, Canada. When I first came to LA, one of the first jobs I got was volunteer at Cedars-Sinai Hospital, and that I had worked at Equinox Gym for a number of years. And he's like, "What?" He like, I thought he was going to be like, "Word."
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be on a medical show, Grey's Anatomy, ER, whichever show there was. I mean, if there was a scalpel, I want to be there. And the fact that I was on this show was just such a dream. I mean, talk about like walking into a warm bath. It was all
No.
the big words and the drama. But what was so special about this show was that it was so close to reality that when I worked, when I volunteered work at Cedars-Sinai, it was very similar. And I saw a lot of things. And this is back in 96 when I first moved here. I'm kind of aging myself, but I saw a lot of stuff.
We're all in that same age group, by the way. So
Yes.
Okay.
Great club. We're seasoned.
Yeah, we're seasoned. Exactly.
Yeah.
We're marinated.
Yeah.
You see a lot of things that happen, and there's sometimes where you're just so overwhelmed. And this is like in 96. This is like pre-pandemic and all that. And I remember the charge nurse used to be like, "Justin, get in here." Like, strip this person down and get those blankets and and bring those charts over here. And I'll be like, "Okay," and I'm wearing my little blue apron, volunteer with my name on it. But they put me to work, and the doctors saw that I was interested, and I always kind of like would peek around the window or peek around the curtains to see what was being done, just to put an ear to it. And the doctors would pull me to the side and they explain everything that was going on, much like in the show when Noah was like, "Okay, what do we do? We're in this particular situation. You want to be a doctor? Here we go." And then they got to rattle off what they have to do, and they're like, "Great, good, let's go." It's such an amazing concept when you actually have a real life situation where people are about to die, and yet you're being asked on how you're going to save this. Like, everyone is their own little MacGyver.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if that's comforting or not, to think about the fact that sometimes people are really just making it up on the fly.
Yeah. I need 1,000 cc's of up, and I need something, but that, and then I got to do the tube down the throat, and it actually really does happen. And it was really cool to see how close the Pitt does it to the actual scenario.
I've seen a lot of that online from medical professionals saying that it is the closest that they have seen to real world ER conditions.
Yeah. I have a very special someone in my life who does labor and delivery. And every time she goes to work, that's all they ever talk about. I actually have been getting videos from people at work going, "Hey, just wanted to say thank you. We're a big fan. And that grand mal seizure that you did, very impressed."
That's very nice. Nice recognition.
I mean, that's
huge.
Coming from a doctor, it's like, it's one thing if it's your friends, they're like, "Hey man, good job." It's another thing. It was Dr. Go who's saying, "Hey, you know what? I really appreciate how you really committed to that seizure for how long,
Well, yeah, speaking of your role on the show, so we first see you in the waiting room, and one thing Mandy and I laugh about all the time is that you don't discount any patient who passes on the screen. And we saw you sitting next to Doug, who is the happiest man alive. So I bet that was a lot of fun watching all of that play out. But you do end up having a seizure, which ended up being the big finale in episode 4. And, we read a lot, like Mandy said, about your background, and it seems you were really well cast for this role because it's physical, comedic, and serious. And we're not medical professionals, but we also think you did a phenomenal job. So we're curious, how did you end up getting cast in this role? Did any of your background have anything to do with assisting you with that? And then we'll have a couple follow-up questions about the seizure itself.
Well, it was the 4th time I had auditioned for the show. So there were Kathy Guilford, is it Guilfond? Kathy Gelfond, the casting director, Sandrich Gelfond. She, I guess, I submitted something, the first time off the bat, which was good. And then they were like, "Okay, let's bring it back again for the second one." And it was all self-tape. And then a third and a fourth. And I had a friend of mine that helped me out who was just totally instrumental, Ingrid Walters. And I actually auditioned for Langdon.
Wow.
Yeah, I auditioned for Langdon, oh, what a prick.
Oh, you just made Mandy's day.
I'm Team Santos all the way.
Yeah. God, Patrick just killed it. He just kills
Yeah.
it.
Phenomenal
Like,
job.
you just want to be like, F you, Patrick.
Yeah.
No, not well, just him playing Langdon.
Yes.
Patrick is a wonderful cat. And then, but doing that audition was like, oh, I had to do surgery, and it was just, the most cocky guy in the world. It was just like he's better than the
Yeah.
best. But then I got the Joseph Marino role after the fourth time, and when I got the call, I was like, I what? I'm gonna play the guy with neurocystic sarcosis. Great.
By the way, kudos for pronouncing that because I was not going to attempt it.
I had to do it like 100 times.
That is a party trick that'll stick with you forever.
Yes, it is.
But no, I didn't have any other background other than I do comedy, and I do a lot of physical comedy when I'm on stage. And I'm also known as the guy, I'm a bit of a funny guy. And no matter how hard I try to be serious, it still comes off funny. It's a bit of a curse, but I think I got it from the first time when I was 17 years old, and my parents gave me allowance that just I thought was insufficient. And I complained about it, and my friends were howling with laughter. I'm like, guys, you don't understand. This is serious. And they're like, dude, are you kidding me? You're 17 years old and you're still getting allowance. But but to play Joseph was actually that was a real treat.
You did a great job. And I know the seizure comes on while you're in the waiting room. And, we both complimented on how it looked very realistic. And I've listened to a lot of podcasts about medical shows. And one of the biggest complaints people have is that seizure didn't look real. It didn't look real. But yours, we all bought it. We had a question from one of our listeners, Katie Gannett, who asks, how many takes did you have to do before you got all of that? They were like, okay, that's it. We got it.
Well, we did 8 or 9 takes. And we did a tech with the crew, just with the crew. And I don't think anybody told the extras and the other actors that were coming in what was going to happen.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So you have about like 70 or so extras that come in. And thank God it was only 8 because it was very difficult. It's actually more difficult than it seemed because apparently I've got a big head. And
he doesn't look like it.
Yeah, no, it's a 7 3/4. I wear very large hats and 20-gallon hats. So
Zoom is very slimming for your head.
Zoom is great. Believe me, I've been organizing this way how to look all morning. When you're leaning back and because we're in chairs and you got to do the whole motion, I didn't realize how heavy my head was. And that was hellish training just all along the sternocleidomastoid, just going all the way down the
now you were. I've noticed you busting that out.
All this, and it was hard. But after the first take, when it happened, people didn't know it was going to happen. So literally people, the extras were like, oh shit, there's something going on. And then because I'm so in it, I couldn't hear Amanda Marcellus call cut. And Jalen had to come up and be like, yo, dude. Like, he was like, dude, they called cut. I just went, what? I was like, oh, okay.
Would have been the irony of ironies if you'd gone into a real seizure.
I know. That's what I was afraid of. I was afraid that, like all of a sudden I had like some sort of like conditioned.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Would manifest where I'd just be like, I can't break out of it. And then everyone was just like, oh, shit. Like, he was acting. And then there was an applause. And then the entire room erupted.
Wow.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
That's pretty amazing. That had to make you feel good.
It did. I'm a sensitive guy. I almost kind of welled up a little bit at that point. But I was like, oh, my God.
It's like, give me my Oscar or my Emmy now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You love me. You really love me.
That was your Sally Fields moment.
That was my Sally Fields. And then so we did it about 8 times, and then like in between, people would, like I couldn't hear cut, and people would I'd get another applause break.
That's amazing.
So it was wild, and it was exhausting.
Oh, I bet.
That was exhausting because it's a full isometric contraction.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
my heart goes out to people who actually had grand mal seizures because it's hard.
I don't know if you've ever witnessed one in person, but I have witnessed a real grand mal seizure, and you did a fantastic job. You really did. It was very, very believable. So you have, I'm going to try it. You have neurocysticercosis.
That's good enough. I think it's neurocystis or neurocysti. It's like tomato.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Well, I call you the brainworm guy, so.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, that is one of my deepest fears. Ever since I have discovered the existence of brainworms, I have had like a deep phobia that one day that I don't know. Have you ever seen that TV show, Monsters Inside Me? And it's about people who get parasites. And I can't even watch it. I can't even really think about the fact that that happens often enough that people have to have a TV show about it. Come to find out, looking it up, that it actually is very, very common.
Right.
But my mom was curious, did they give you any kind of backstory on how your character may have acquired the brainworms?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to give a shout out to the med techs. I forget their names, but it was 2 gentlemen that helped me, and they were like, okay, this is how you do it. And because I YouTubed it and I wasn't quite sure how to do it properly. And then they said, you got to clench your fist. It's a full contraction. You got to go you got to do it a beat. And I'm a drummer. So it's like 105 BPMs, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and staying alive. It's the same thing as CPR, that same rhythm. And your eyes have to roll up to the top part of your head. So you're looking up. But wait, what was your question again?
Did they give you any kind of backstory on how you, other than just you probably got it from undercooked pork, did they give you any kind of a?
Yes. Joseph worked in the Peace Corps.
Okay.
And he was in South America.
My mother's going to love that answer.
And I know. I mean, I might have just killed the whole South American tourist industry. He ate uncooked pork, and he has had this now for a couple of years. And what started off as migraines, and then eventually turned into a grand mal seizure.
Every headache I get from now going forward, I'm going to be afraid that I've got a brainworm graveyard.
Well, there are people on set that you said, "Oh, somebody came up to me and they're like, yeah, I'm supposed to be having pork tonight."
Thanks.
I'm going to cook the shit out of that one.
Right? Yeah, burn it.
Yeah.
We're going to marinate. We're going to saute it. We're going to pan fry it.
We're going to get a priest in here, throw a blowtorch on it.
Exactly.
And your reactions as you learned about your diagnosis were awesome. They were so amazing. You could just see your comedy background really shining through in those scenes. And when you said, "Is my brain like Swiss cheese? Am I dying?" That was hilarious. And very much would have been my first question as well. But we were wondering, did you get to ad lib anything, or was all of this scripted?
Oh, that was all scripted.
Every bit of it?
The writing is just solid.
It is very good.
It's just solid. It's just solid writing. And then the way how they do it, it's just solid. And because I thought it was just funny as it was. There's nothing to add.
Yeah. Our podcast covering television, we were doing, when we first started, our first series was about the show What We Do in the Shadows, the final season. We loved that show.
Yeah.
And so when we were talking about what to do next, this was Becky's suggestion, because Becky is a die-hard grade A1 ER fan. And if you ever talk to Noah Wiley, please ask that if he ever listens to our podcast, that he not be afraid of Becky.
And Becky and Mandy.
We really are harmless.
Yes.
He's her celebrity boyfriend.
John Carter was my first television crush, and that has not changed in all my years.
Yeah, but I've loved the show and it's not my thing. I don't normally get into medical dramas and I am loving this show just like everybody else that watches it. It's just the writing is incredible and just the mix of humor and seriousness, which speaking of which, my next question was, how did you keep a straight face after your comment about the worm graveyard and Patrick Ball tells you, yeah, but they're resting in peace.
Yeah.
That made me laugh out loud. I was like, how did he keep a straight face?
Yeah.
Patrick, there was some giggling, because like once the giggling starts, it's like a Bill Hader itis.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I just tried to like stay really focused. There was one point where someone cracked a joke after that, and people were giggling, and I just like no, and I really I had to block that out because I know that every time it would just start. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of focus. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't want to laugh and it's the same time, like I said before, I'm just trying to be as serious as possible.
Right.
I'm not really going for the comedy. It's just, I don't know. It's like if you ask me to walk a straight line, you're going to get some dance steps in there.
It just twinkles out
Just
here and
can't
there.
help it. Justin, just walk a straight line. I am.
I know that I've said this repeatedly, but I'm just so impressed I'm even more impressed now that you've told me that they weren't even really aware of your medical background, your comedy background, or any of that, because this, as Becky pointed out, this role demanded all three of the things that seem to be your really strong skill sets. And it was just kind of seamlessly blended. And you really did a great job.
Very.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So your character, did you get to like name your character? Did you get to make any special requests, or is it just this is who you are and this is the story and that's that?
Good question. Joseph Marino is actually a real person, and he was on ER for like 20 years. I think he did a little bit of acting. He was a background, but he was part of the ER family, and he actually became really good friends with Noah as well as everybody else. And unfortunately, he passed away not so long ago.
Oh,
But what was interesting was that I remember just sitting there and people would walk by and be like, hey, you're playing Joseph, huh? And I'd be like, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then they just walk off. And I'm like, I don't know what that was all about. And then somebody come up and they put my little tag on here that said Joseph Marino. And they're like, oh, you're playing Joseph Marino. I'm like, yeah. He's a real guy. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, he's a real guy who used to be on the show. And he turns out that Joseph was loved by everyone. So this is what made it all the more special. There's every show you get your character and it'll be some name that whatever, and there's cops and there's robbers and there's whatever, but this person was actually real, and it was amazing throughout the times that I was there, because I was there within a span of 2 months, that everyone had a little something to say about Joseph.
wow.
And so this made this even more special. And I was like, okay, and it wasn't like it was about raising the bar so much. It felt like the way everybody said it, it actually made me feel more comfortable with playing Joseph, that it just felt more and more natural, that I didn't have to really have to come up with so much of a backstory, and there was just like just everyone's love and respect for Joseph just kind of made the whole thing a whole lot easier.
That's amazing. That is an absolutely beautiful story.
Yeah.
What an honor and a responsibility, but an honor that it's somebody that was so beloved.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It was such an honor. And I was like, wow, okay. And at one point, and this is the coolest thing ever, it kind of makes my eyes mist a little bit, is Noah Wiley comes in, and I think it's like one of the recaps, right? One of the show recaps. And he comes in, and I'm there having my seizure on the gurney. And Noah comes in, Dr. Michael Rabinovich, and he takes out his stethoscope and he's like, welcome back, Mr. Marino. And then Langdon goes over to the medical records and types it in. He goes like, we have no record of him. And then the show starts.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the tip of the hat. A shout out to Joey, which I thought was dope.
That's amazing. That is such I was not expecting that
Yeah,
answer, and that just warmed my whole soul. So
yeah, yeah,
kudos to you
yeah,
for honoring him in such a really nice way.
It
yeah.
should. I bet
Well,
that his family was just so tickled.
well, he's got a lot of close friends. Actually, Carly, she's out there. Yeah, she's. I think she runs the fan page, and she is dope AF.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's why we're talking to you now.
We're very grateful.
Yeah,
Everyone on the cast seems to have amazing chemistry, and you did your scenes with Patrick Ball and Issa Briones, and those two have an obvious their characters have an obvious hate relationship. But of all the people that you got to work with on set, who was the person that you enjoyed working with the most? And then a follow-up question from one of our listeners, loyal listeners, Maureen, who among all the actors surprised you the most?
um, it's a real hard. Oh man, that's a hard one to say because the thing about this show is that it's so the show is based on teamwork.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to like jump out of, I'm not trying to like squiggle out of anything or not answer your question. It's just that I would say that Noah is my favorite
Mine too.
actor to work with,
Well, not to work with, but in general.
right? It wasn't so much of the acting. It wasn't so much like him as an actor. It was just like his way of just creating a vibe where everyone was well received, well respected, well fed. Always feed your actors, and you're going to get the best result.
Craft services.
Oh, one day I want to get a craft services.
Like a good breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I don't know why I just sounded like Barack Obama there. You got to have a good breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
It's fine. We miss him. So
We miss him so very much.
You want to eat, man, you want to work, you got to eat.
That's a very good Obama.
Oh, it's very good.
No. Anyways, he created such a vibe that, like, when we were talking, and he was like, "So where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Montreal, Canada." And he was like, "Oh, no wonder you're so cool." And I was like, are we vibing right now?
Did we just become best friends?
Like, are you on Facebook?
Yeah.
I'm not. Or I am, but I forget. But just the whole vibe that he has set for everyone else, and then you could see like the infectiousness that it had on like Damien Marcano and John Cameron and Amanda Marcellus, and how it just that trickle down of love and respect for everything. That was dope. Who I thought was the dopest person on there besides Noah was his stand-in.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that dude was dope. I forget his name. Okay, so look, stand-ins, okay, eyes are missing up again. Because you don't see this.
Yeah.
This dude, he's dressed like him, he's dressed like Noah, but when Noah's in the room and he's doing the rehearsal, and you'll have like one room, right? And they got to move couches out, and they've got like 50 people in there because you need someone who's going to move the couches, who's going to do the lighting. You got to get the cameras in there, and everyone's discussing the shots, the director, the writers, and his stunt double stand-in is just looking at, just examining Noah, and then Noah, he does this thing, he's like, the face, it's like you can see the emotions that are in there. But I'm watching his stand-in, and this dude is just mirroring everything that's going on.
Wow.
So that when he has to get into there and stand in there for Noah, he's creating that thread. It's seamless. And I went up to him afterwards. It was the last day that I was there, and I said, "I see you.
Oh.
I see what you're doing. That is dope. That is so cool what you're doing."
Yeah.
Like, thank you. I don't think he gets that often, but I was just like,
I bet that meant a lot to hear.
because you'll get stand-ins that'll just be like,
they're just place fillers.
just place fillers, But this guy, he was just, yeah. So
Well, now I have a sidebar question, and I know we're getting cut close to time, but I was not aware that stand-ins would be used a lot on a TV show like that. I mean, when I think of stand-in, I normally am thinking of, somebody that's a stunt double or something like that. What exactly does a stand-in do there? Is it just so they can frame the shot, or is he actually standing in some of the scenes for Noah Wyle?
Just there for the shots so that Noah doesn't have to stand there while everyone's discussing, and also for lighting.
Okay. So he doesn't even get to be on screen. He's doing all of this. He's perfecting this craft, and it's not even going to be filmed.
Yeah.
That's even more amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to get him on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Want to get him on the show. I forgot
That
his
would
name,
be a fun conversation to have for sure.
And then,
Yeah.
you can even get like an extra on that show.
Yeah.
These people there were people there that are committed. The people just rolling in the back. The whole team effort, and everyone is of one mind and working together to, it's not cult, but it's like appreciation, respect for the whole production. Because I've been on set before where people, it's just like, it's all over the place and everyone's like, I can't wait to get the hell out of here.
Yeah. Talking to you, that really starts to paint the picture of how this show became the success and gets as much of accolades as it gets, is that, it starts from, I don't even like to use the phrase bottom rung because it takes such a huge effort on everyone's part. It sounds like from what you're describing that it's that culture that Noah and the other creators have cultivated on set that people have to buy in. I imagine that stand-in wouldn't be as dedicated if he were working for someone who made him feel like he wasn't valued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So this is maybe a bit controversial. I know that there have been certain factions within Canada and the United States that have not been getting along lately. So reading your bio, I see that you are from Canada, but you spent a lot of time in the US. So I just feel like it wouldn't be responsible if I didn't ask you, are you Team Drake or Team Kendrick?
Well, first of all, I want you to know that my answer is going to be 25% tariff free.
That was wonderful.
And yeah. Oh God, I can't say anything because if somebody is watching this back in Canada and they're working for TSA Canada, I don't want them to be like, hey, listen, can we have a word with you for a second? And then there's Drake in the office, It's like, I've been watching that show with Mandy and Becky, and yeah.
And you definitely don't want to offend Kendrick because the next thing you know, he's winning Grammys and slandering your name.
He might be the next diss track.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a fan. I'm a Kendrick fan. I'm a Kendrick fan. The whole beef thing, I don't get it. I really want to see a fun beef. I want to see one like between I don't know,
Michael Che and
Colin Jost.
Colin Jost. That's the beefs we need in this world.
Yeah, I want to see them in the ring swinging it. And, I don't know. It's just. Who would be a good one? Who would be a good one? Like who's still, but like I want them like a lot older generation, like Barbara Streisand and Dolly Parton. I want to see that. I want to see that beat. That beat would be like, Jolene, and the other one is like, I don't know.
Well, Dolly's from Tennessee, and she's practically the patron saint of Tennessee.
She is the patron saint of Tennessee, for sure.
Honestly don't think you could get her into a beef if you tried for any reason. She's not even really beefing with Jolene. She was very polite, asking her to please not take her.
Like, leave my man alone, right? Okay? I need him.
Yeah.
Oh, Drake.
So you're going to pick Drake just for patriotic sake.
Yeah. Well, I'm going with let's call it a tie.
There you go. That's diplomatic.
That's a weak answer. That's the weakest answer.
Well, you gave the best with the tariffs answer, so everything else is just gravy.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming close to the end of our time. So before we do wrap it up, I want to know, do you have any projects that are in the works that you want to tell everyone about? And where can our listeners find you on socials and all that good stuff so they can keep up with you?
Yeah. Let me see. Justin Wings Wade on Instagram. Sorry, folks, I'm not on Facebook to all the baby boomers.
Good for you.
Just did I'm on the countdown that's coming out on Amazon. Just a little stint on there. And I have my theater show that I do for actors at the Broadwater Theater coming on April 8th. And that's kind of like an open mic for actors. I've been doing this show for 4 years where people come up and they do scenes and monologues. And we just had a show last week, and it was a night of comedy. And I'm the host, the producer, and people come in and you pay to play. And it's the one time that you can actually be a part of a theater production without having to make a full month or 2 month commitment.
That's amazing. Do you televise those, or are they just strictly in-house?
Yeah, no, I put them on Instagram and whatnot.
Awesome. I'll make sure I'm going to go check those out myself.
Yeah. It's for that, it's at Actors Night.
Okay. I'm going to make sure to post links to your Instagram, and I'll add that one to it in our show notes so that people can just click and find you and follow you.
Yeah, and you can also find me if you look on my IGs, you'll see what comedy shows that I'm also doing.
Excellent.
So
You need to make your way out here to Tennessee.
Yeah. Oh, I've always wanted to go to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Well, we're smack dab in the heart of all the craziness. So
Wow.
if you ever make it to Nashville, you know how to get a hold of us. So
Yeah.
hit us up.
I'm gonna bring my shoulder pads.
You should.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring a helmet and shoulder pads, and I don't know. What are those things that you put on your ankles, like for when you're walking in the snow? No, when you're walking in the snow, so you don't get snow in your boots.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of snow here, so we don't know. I would say saran wrap.
Yeah, right.
Galoshes? I don't know, Montreal.
Or galoshes? No, just because apparently there's a lot of shit going down.
For sure.
That is the truth.
Yeah, far too much.
Yeah, it's what do you damn.
Yeah. It's 1867 around here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
We are a bellwether for a lot of things. And Becky's going to wrap up here a second, but I just want to take a second to say I am not blowing smoke at you when I tell you I am so impressed with you. Like just reading up on you, I am really, really. We love people who are well-rounded is the only way that I can think of it. Like I was struck earlier when you were talking about how you're also a drummer and you're using your knowledge of that. That's what I love about lifelong learners and people who are interested. Knowledge is always good to have. And I think that we need more curious people in this world, more open-minded people. And so I'm just really impressed with you. And we really appreciate you giving us this opportunity.
Thank you.
We're a baby podcast. This is like Mandy said, and we work full-time jobs. This is a labor of love. We don't make any money or anything like that. And people like you willing to take an hour out of your day just to sit and talk with us about anything and everything. It really means a lot. And you are a very great guy. And I appreciate so much that you're talking with us. And I if you ever just want to come back on and talk about any shows you've got coming up or anything, you are welcome here anytime.
Thank you, Becky. Hey, like I've always, I had to do the same thing. Starting off, a lot of work for absolutely nothing, and but it pays off. Something it does pay off, and it's a lot of people did it for me.
Yeah, and thank you for giving back because not everybody does. And, Becky and I have talked, we both have a long history of anxiety. So especially in the world today, one of the reasons that we like to keep busy and curious is that keeping busy keeps you from full out panic sometimes.
Yeah.
So that way it's already,
yes,
that way it's already paying off.
Nice.
All right. So that wraps up our interview with the amazing Justin Wade. We will be back soon to continue our coverage of the Pitt.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yes, we so appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
And we will catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight. Bye.